Jason got some next level compost ones for us tonight. We got the regular compost, the red regular, and now we got the black soldier fly larva now. Them niggas is the whole other level of composting right now. He hit me with the message yesterday. Well, yeah, technically yesterday in the morning. I ain't spoken to him.
Alright. Got P. Foster in here, DeBar, Waju. Get some more of our brethren up in here. See a couple heads up in here. Make sure y'all do the each one, teach one. And hit that like button. Because doesn't look like YouTube is sending out my alerts right now. Got the other AC, Apex Cypher. Jasim came in. You like the title of the chat today, huh? Universal 7. Asiatic mathematics. Shaquem. So you got some thoughts? You got some thoughts on the title of the live today? AC. Everybody got to do the each one teach one and hit that like button today, man. I don't think my alerts is going out. Man. All right. Black Justice. Ain't get an alert. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think you gotta, they said it's a particular button. You gotta make sure it's pressed. Who knows how these things work, man? Dealing with the signs, you know, most of us, we immediately go into, you know, anytime somebody say wisdom, we go immediately into wise words spoken and wise actions taken. But we always got to keep in mind what wisdom comes from. Wisdom comes from knowledge. So sometimes the wisest decision, the wisest move is to not say nothing and not do nothing. Accept the knowledge. Because remember, you know, when you're dealing with the science of wisdom, right? Which makes what makes those words wise? It's the way that it's applied. And the way that it's applied, right, is knowing what to apply, knowing how to apply it, but it's also knowing when to apply it. See, if you give the wrong medicine to the wrong patient, it could be lethal. You see what I'm saying? Asiatic mathematics said in some situations, ignoring is the wise thing to do. P. Foster said not everything needs a reaction, proactive or reactive. I won't lose time searching for that does not exist. See, that is also, you know, a science when you're dealing with today's mathematics. You know, two people talking at the same time. See, this is what also comes, you know, this is what often comes from what P. Foster is talking about. When you automatically go into speaking. And sometimes when that happens, you haven't really taken the time to understand the meaning of what the other person is saying. So then in that situation, wisdom is not going to be a victory. So that's some, I hope state of the art, Allah will manifest. I hope he gets a chance to check this. Because this is something that would definitely be useful for him. Is knowing when to speak and when not to speak. People decide I don't have time for hard times. The boss said when to apply is wise because it's manifested when it's necessary. Like Justice said, when two people are arguing, which of the two is the fool? Because all of these is times when people don't know how to apply their knowledge. See, even when you're teaching, it comes a certain point when you got to know when to allow the wisdom to be absorbed. The light is not going to reach everybody at the same speed. Let me hook up my battery before we lose contact. I think I'm plugged in. You see, that's something that like I said, even when you're teaching, like when it comes time when you say you don't cast your jewels amongst the swine, see, that's when you got to be wise enough to know not to speak. You got to be wise enough to know what to say and what not to say. Jassim said, I always thought about victory being the proper alignment of words and actions, but I keep seeing that there's levels to the signs. Exactly. There's many levels to the signs. Because it all, there's many different ciphers that we deal with. And each cipher has certain unique factors in it. You understand what I mean? So the way you relate to everybody in one cipher may not be the same way you relate to everybody in another cipher. You understand what I'm saying? Calm is lonely. Not saying that you become other than who you are. Musaddiq, what's going on? But if you in a cipher where you speaking to your parents, right? You relate to them in a different way than you relate to your children. See, all this is wisdom that, like when I was saying, certain times you could create the cold current that you putting your wisdom into. You know what I'm saying? You speaking into a cold current that you created. So then your words fall on deaf ears. Because when the water comes down as ice or snow, it sits on the surface. See, when it comes down at drops of water, it soaks in. What's going on here? Okay. I got crazy people over here. Smell good. What's the deal? See, that's when you're not wise enough to know, when you speaking and you creating a cold current that you speaking into, right? That's when you're not wise enough to know what to say and what not to say. You're not wise enough to know what to say and when to say it. All on the business. See, the minute, you attain some knowledge, what you start doing with it, even mentally, how you categorize it in your mind, all of that's wisdom. All of that's what the wise man does in order to bring about understanding. But when you just speaking because you think it's wisdom, you really just speaking. Because what's the understanding that you're bringing about? If you beating the people in the head or you speaking above their heads, or even if you speaking below them, so how you want to avoid that? When you come into a cipher, you got to do the knowledge. See, you don't need a sword for every confrontation or for every situation. The sword is an emblem of justice. So what justice is, that's judgment. You got to have the ability to judge and know when to use the sword. You got to know the difference between when you taking 4 devil's heads and when you teaching civilization. Smell Good said, when asked by a destroyed power, what you gonna do when around a bunch of people that don't want to listen and what you saying because they keep talking? I said, say less. P. Foster said, 3 things you don't want to waste is time, food, and breath. Calm Islami said, when you say less, you tend to listen more. See, this is another specific example, you know what I'm saying, of when the wise thing to do is be silent. See, silence is the first stage of learning. See, first you gotta be silent so you can listen. See, all in the business said when they talk, you do the knowledge. That's the respectful thing to do as well. Exactly. Peace. You showing that you a man of knowledge. Because this is what happened when you got 2 wise individuals in a conversation. Somebody or both individuals know what to say and when to say it. See, because a lot of times, how do a person get themselves in trouble? When they start speaking, right? Or they start doing something. And when the question is, well, why did you say that, or why did you do that? Oh, well, I didn't know. Well, I didn't know this was that, and that was this. So how did you get to the stage of wisdom if you didn't know? Now you became a savage in a pursuit. Because we understand that supreme mathematics, it tells me that knowledge comes first before everything else. So if you speaking or you moving around and you don't know, and then this is your excuse, this is not a very good excuse for somebody that got the knowledge of themselves. Calm Islami said, I work in sales. That's the first thing I learned. You close more business when you listen to the client's needs. You know how to meet them. All in the business said eventually they realize that you've been quiet, but not the fact that they've been talking most of the time, not sharing the floor with you. Smell Good said, I am constantly working on not cutting people off as they are speaking. P. Foster said, some people listen to respond, not comprehend. Now see, this is, a person, you that's what they, that's the meaning of prejudice. Like you already have a judgment in mind and you don't really have, you're not even attempting to learn nothing because you already have, your mind is already made up. Because see, you can't always depend on that person to be wise enough to realize that's what they're doing. You got to be wise enough to know what? One of the lessons that came to us, from Allah about life, is that the best way to master some things is to leave them alone. So you gotta be wise enough to know the difference in which one is which. Which ciphers, do you want to go through? Which ciphers you want to go over? Which ciphers you want to go around? Which ciphers you want to avoid altogether? Sometimes you got to exercise your wisdom in that way. See, like if you a young brother out there, you understand what I'm saying? You might get yourself into a situation where something happens, and now, there's a problem about that thing that happens. And when they say, hold up, but this individual right here, he didn't have anything to do with that. He wasn't involved. See, you being wise enough to know to refrain from whatever caused the problem, that you didn't do nothing, it was wise. So sometimes we gotta realize that that's the best way to show and prove that we have knowledge, is to do the knowledge. You understand what I'm saying? The best way to show understanding is to have understanding. Smell Good said avoiding minds bombs at times, one must remain silent. So that's something to keep in mind. We're moving into a little something. Speaking, did we get new Black World Order in here yet? We got the wordsmith. Did we get the mathematician? All right, we finally got some alerts out here where we got some of our brethren, and I suppose sisters too, have come in. Everybody got to do the each one teach one and click the like button for me today, because I'm not getting my alerts ain't go out tonight. Jasim said that's after you already know how to apply the ideas you're experimenting with or not. Yeah, but see, that's why I'm telling you I don't experiment. I've already experimented. I'm high explosives. That's what I realized. Of all the different explosives that's out there, from firecrackers to nuclear bombs, I'm the highest explosive. Halftime, what's going on? Should we get into a little degree right here? How many people we got? We got people in here tonight that know 120? got a couple people that know 120. Why son of love? Tommy Robinson. Peace. You in the actual facts right now. So in the culture degree, how many of y'all notice in the culture degree in the 1 to 14, it says EU means Hillside. And the power degree in the in the actual facts tells you about hills and mountains. So we just talked about when it's a time not to use your sword. Now we're going to talk about a time when it's wise to use your sword. Kareem Science, he said, you have an old song I told you was playing all day before where you started like that saying you high explosives. I recall saying that, but I don't recall the song. Self-Lord. How you acknowledge the 1 to 10 and some of the 1 to 40? I never heard of it in that order. Don't tell Boy Mastermind that I'm eating a potato, even though it's brown on the outside, but the part that I'm eating is white. So you know the math, the alphabet, the 1 to 10, and you know the math, the alphabet, the 1 to 10, and some of the 1 to 40. So out of the brothers that know 120, did anyone notice that connection between the hills and mountains and EU meaning Hillside. Tommy Robinson said, "Born you truth, most of the nutrients are from the skin." See, I can tell you're an ally of Born Mastermind. It's okay, we welcome all. Carmen Islami said, you know, Supreme Math Supreme, Alphabet 1 to 10, 1 to 36. 1 through 4 are the 1 to 14. You're familiar with the 1 to 40, but don't knowledge them 100%. How are y'all managing to do this? Knowledge, what's going on? Tommy Robinson said, I just study food and diets. Yeah, all in the business. That's why I was waiting. I was like, man, what's going on? Maybe I need to ask a better question or something.
It's 12 o'clock.
But when you deal with that science, right? What is 1,910,000? What is that? What is that born? Yeah, yesterday y'all took me into that whole side rally about food. P. Foster said, brothers are getting 120 at one time. Yeah, and y'all all over the place. And what you're doing is you learning 120 in the hardest possible way. It's like, you know, you came in and you learned some addition. You know, you got addition down pat, you got subtraction down pat, and then you got some multiplication, and then you skip to algebra. So you're familiar with algebra, but you don't really know how to multiply and divide. You don't know algebra. Calm as Lonely said, I got knowledge way back in 97, and God gave me a full set of 120. Yeah, they've been doing that for a while, man. Oh, you talking about, is that, illegally black? Yeah, man, to me, it's easier. I mean, it seems easier. Maybe, I never did it the other way. Maybe if I tried it the other way, I would see what y'all saying. But to me, it seemed like the easiest way is just, study it, get it over it, one at a time. All in the business, that's what makes it take longer. is because people are skipping all over the place. El Divine, peace to the God. Have times that I got a 120 packet from the school. Met my educator 7 days later. Yeah, I'm gonna hold on to this for you if you don't mind, as he took it. Yeah, because first of all, to keep it 100, you know what I'm saying? You know, giving out 120 like that, you know what I'm saying? The idea that, we in this new time and you could just give out 120 lessons to anybody, I never subscribed to that idea. You know what I'm saying? They get these things out and they don't even know who the people are that they're giving this stuff to. Calm Islami said, when I say I'm familiar with the 1 to 40, I mean, if you ask me a question from it, I can quote the answer very near correct, but not right and exact. And I haven't got the order on cap. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How did you get the 1 to 40? How did you get familiar with the 1 to 40 before you got familiar with the 1 to 14? Brother up here said he don't have refinement in his mathematics. I mean, that tells me like where your tree comes from, but I mean, why you brought that up for? Yeah, fasting 3 days, people don't get that. Knowledge said, in the alphabets, do you guys have a long version of the descriptions? What descriptions? What long version? Halftime said, when I was coming up, did anybody get the whole 120? I mean, not that I knew of. I mean, it might have been some people, but I never like I heard 1 or 2 stories of some brothers that had acquired the whole 120. But nah, I didn't. It wasn't being done like that when I got the knowledge. The most you would see was somebody would get a whole degree. Like they would have the whole 1 to 14. But getting the whole 120. You gotta look on my other YouTube page, Key Kareem. Kareem said his late uncle gave him the whole 120 for whatever reason. Didn't have supreme alphabets. The boss said the devil lost his way and ended up in the hills. Ajax Mathematics said I have a short description in my alphabet. Well, what's the short description? What's the long description and short description? Y'all gotta fill me in here. Now it said like the meaning of the first word of Allah and so forth. I've seen different versions of the alphabets. Oh, with meanings and nah, you ain't supposed to have that. Jadeda said having them all at one time is like eating an elephant, but part of me likes being able to know it's an elephant. I mean, that's true, but you know what happens too with that though? I mean, when you give a person the whole thing like that, to me, it's overwhelming. Like, that's one of the things that happens to you. You know what I'm saying? You giving this whole packet, you know what I'm saying? Instead of just one thing, which look, learn this right here. You understand what I mean? You know, so with anything, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, when I knew it was 120 lessons, like I had seen 120 lessons. I saw other brothers, they book of life, they had 120 lessons. But I didn't have it myself. You know what I'm saying? You know, but so when I knew what it was, you know, I had seen certain degrees. I didn't, you know, but, you know, when you see the coaching degree, you like, wow, you got to have all this on cap. You know what I'm saying? And then you in the midst, you know, you get unfocused. You know what I'm saying? Meaning, like, you know, a lot of brothers today, you know, y'all come in the midst, y'all watch these videos, and y'all get exposed to certain levels of wisdom and understanding that, you know, all of this together is overwhelming. You know what I'm saying? When you're trying to digest all of this. So, you know, in my opinion, that's why, you know, it becomes a little bit more difficult for people today to really grasp it and be able to internalize it. You know what I'm saying? Because you trying to digest too much at one time. Scientific law, what's going on? Out of all the people who got it at one time, right? How many of y'all learned it in less than 6 months? Matter of fact, how many of y'all learned it in less than 9 months? Halftime said I asked that because he asked, did anybody get it in that time when I was coming up? And then he said he asked that because he got the packet from Umala. And, you know, to me, that's another thing that's, you know, because the same people that gave it to me one at a time, the same people that was telling me, this is how you learn it. Now they give out, so you know that was crazy right there. But you know, yeah, peace to Umar, that's how he did it. You know, they started giving out that packet at the school. I would say about 91 is when you first, you know, when I first recall that somebody could just go to the school and get 120. God mathematics, so that gave a somewhat complex response to a degree in the alphabet, and brothers told me now cipher, I need to have it simple. See, what happens is, it's like if you send your first grader to school with a story that you wrote, right? You using words and concepts that they know this first grader don't know. And that's what happens when you get those meaning off the paper. You didn't really learn nothing. You understand what I'm saying? The mathematics in the alphabet is not 120 lessons. You understand what I'm saying? It's not there for you to, be quoting this other definition. And for brothers to really know, if you grasping the supreme mathematics and how to use it, they need you to speak in your own words. So then that way, if you got a misunderstanding, they can easily correct it. You understand what I'm saying? The other thing is that our duty is amongst the dead. So, you can't come to the dead with all these complex ideas. You got to be able to give them a word or a phrase that they able to take with them and internalize it. You see what I'm saying? Then when they digest that, you could give them more. Calm Islam, he said he was 15 at the time, so he definitely wasn't ready for the whole set. All on the business said he got it at one time and acknowledged it in less than 9 months. Supreme Mathematics and Supreme Alphabet in 2 weeks. All right. Yeah, Shakim said we went in competition at Boys and Girls High to learning first. Yeah. Me and a brother named E. Kim. It was another brother. He ended up being Maurice though. A couple of brothers like that I grew up with too. Shabon was with us for a minute. But yeah, I remember those days, Shakim. See, Calm Islam, everybody telling me about math and alphabet. How many of people who got the lessons at one time, right, learned it in less than 9 months? Halftime said, I asked about that. When it gets overwhelming, I was told just listen and let it plant the seed in my mind if they're beyond where I'm at. That's why when you discuss 140, I keep it in the background and don't comment. Yeah, that's, when you're doing the knowledge to, what I'm saying, if I'm speaking different concepts, yeah, just put it on cap. That don't really have to do, or how that relates to studying the lessons is the same way. Like, all these different things you're trying to understand this. Learn 120 and let that soak in, and then you will come to these more, higher degrees of understanding. What's this you said? You said long, Nazullah said, so no long versions of the alphabet. You shouldn't have any version of the alphabet. When you get your alphabet, when you get your mathematics in your alphabet, you're supposed to go look that up in the dictionary. So you start building your meanings and your understanding of mathematics through your research and experience. Of course, you build with other brothers. You know what I'm saying? Just like any other type of learning, you know what I'm saying? You know, Kobe Bryant, he seen Michael Jordan. But he had to apply, you know, certain things he learned from Michael Jordan, but he had to apply all of that in his own life in order to accomplish what he accomplished. You see what I'm saying? So if you start off with giving a man understanding, you know, first of all, you got to think about that. You know, in how many instances do you want somebody giving you understanding? You know, another man, you know, putting the understanding in your cipher. Like the babies is understanding, right? You wouldn't want him supplying you, you know, you wouldn't want him supplying your wisdom or understanding in. So why, when you speak, would you want your wisdom to be supplied by his understanding? You gotta draw up your own understanding. You know what I'm saying? Or let me say this, because this, as a matter of fact, I made this point yesterday. You gotta draw up the understanding for yourself. Yeah, it's the same science we dealing with, but you gotta be able to see it for yourself. Because see, like I said, you know, as you coming up through the stages, right? Like everybody, some people got the knowledge, or some people got the lessons on here all at one time. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get it like that. You see what I'm saying? So that's the stage when we was made planets. We didn't really have a decision over how we got it. You know what I'm saying? When y'all got it at one time, y'all didn't know that there, you know what I'm saying, there was other people that didn't get it at one time. You got it how you got it. You know what I'm saying? That came from whatever cipher that you was a part of at whatever time you was a part of it. But then as you grow into a grown planet, right, then you know, certain things that you got right, you renew that history. Certain things you got wrong, we know we destroy that before we make the cipher complete. But see, now you got to move on to be the beginning, where you solar systems is going to be based on you. And when those solar systems is based on you, you can't be relying on another man's understanding. See, right now, there's things that we got to deal with, right, that didn't even exist when Allah was walking on this plane right here. So, yeah, there's some lessons that he gave us that could be applied in this time. But the exact way how it got to be applied, you understand what I mean? Like, for instance, you know, with the people pinging your phone. See, you know, we're not dealing with the same COINTELPRO no more. Now they can just ping your phone. They ain't even got to send no agent out. See, so what that means is that you have to have wisdom and understanding for this time in this place to save your life. See, the same way Allah went in to Madawan saying he was Allah, he came out saying he was Allah. He didn't deny that he was God to get out. He used his wisdom and understanding to save his life. And we all got to do that. So, my opinion, No long versions and no short versions. Kareem said, being that I got it wrong, I would read 120 like a story when I was in high school. The only good thing that came out of that, I kind of knew how to cross-reference degrees, but could not get it on cap. You know, I read it like a story to this day. I definitely can relate to that. All in the business said, and that's called self-style wisdom. Got to be yourself, be original. Why Sen said, I'm still doing the knowledge for a better understanding of each degree. Manola Music and Films, what's going on? What do you mean you still doing the knowledge for a better understanding of each degree? See, now this is kind of related to the last statement. What I made is that it's one whole thing that fits together that you got to understand. It's one whole thing that fits together. Like, see, I was getting to the point. I asked everybody a while ago, what 1,910,000 square miles born, right? That born's wisdom. That tells you that EU is the hillside, of ROPE means the rope to bind in. Now, this is my understanding right here. You understand what I mean? You know, see if you could draw it up and see the picture of what I'm saying. See, that story is also symbolic to the story of Adam and Eve getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And when they got kicked out of the Garden of Eden, what was the rope that was binding them out? What was keeping them out? We talking about enough potatoes? Y'all don't want none of those potatoes. Y'all want to be white like me. You can see I'm almost there. I'm almost there. A couple more meals. We all just have to give board masterminds credit. Asiatic mathematics said, I first seen mathematics on a site called Ancient Order of Free Asiatics, but it looked like a coded language at the time, so I ended up calling the school. I saw that site before. I don't know who that is. All in the business said, recite it while you refine, ingest, and digest. Quote it in the shower, quote it when you wash your hands, quote it when you eat. You'll eat slower. Quote it while you self-heat. Self-heat? Oh, what was he talking? Right. See, they was being kept out by the sword. And it tells you that they was being the rope to bind them into Europe was EU, which is the hillside. And hills and mountains born what? Wisdom. So see, just like I was just saying, when you want to keep the devil away from you, you got to use wisdom. You got to be able to use wisdom. That wisdom might be in the form of, like I said, being wise enough to stay away from them. Or it might be in the form of having to take 4 devil's heads. Universal, what's going on? What he says? As Asada Shakur has supreme math and alphabet on her site, I don't recall, but I think she has 120 uploaded too. I mean, she was in New York. The sweet potatoes, why they got the sweet potatoes got more? Do they have more carbon? Yeah. Now look, the bar, he said it was the wisdom that bound them, right? But look, it was the wisdom that let them out. Because how they got out? Anyone? Bueller? How'd they get out? When I say how did they get out, I mean how did the devil get out of the cage? See, El Devon's still in the room with us. El Devon said they got out through Musa. And we ain't got to, do we have to discuss how Musa is the wisdom and came with the wisdom? K Black Seed, what's going on? I didn't even see you in here. You just got in? Fly phrase? Look what La Illuminati came in. La Illuminati came in and said, what's the word? Listen, that's right on time. Like, he's not even in the What Did I Miss crew. Yeah. Moses said he was drawing out of water. Now look, I'm going to tell y'all how that works in the nation too. certain people, you want them to stay away from you, start talking about some mathematics. Start going through some degrees, and you will watch them go right behind the hillside. Elder Vaughn said Musa gave them wisdom to understand the ciphers. So that's what it's telling you. You want to bring the devil, around you? Musa had to teach in the ring of fire. You know, you want to bring the devil around you? It's the wisdom that's going to unleash them. And when you want to keep them away from you, it's the wisdom. Try it. Next time somebody comes around you, you know what I'm saying, and they talking all crazy, start talking about the math and the lessons. It don't even matter. Look, they can be 85%, 10%, 5%. If you start talking about the lessons, they'll move right away from you. But let's take it back down. You understand what I'm saying? For the brothers that's dealing with the 1 to 10. What's the brothers in here that was saying they on the 1 to 10? Build with y'all for a minute. So y'all can get a chance to comment. See, because where we started at, right? Well, not where we started at, that we first started talking about when silence and inaction is wisdom. But then from there, I went to EU means Hillside. Now, y'all not on that degree yet, but when you're in the culture degree in the 1 to 14, it tells you that EU means hillside and ROPE means the rope to bind in. Right? You rope. You know what I'm saying? And the particular mountains and hillsides that they speaking about, right, are the Ural and Caucasus Mountains. The Caucasus Mountains in particular, but the Ural Mountains are also significant because they separate Europe from Asia. Kareem said, that's a fact. I remember how the young guy around older dudes, they don't know their lessons and they don't want to build, just like the idea of being G.O.D. Yeah. That's all you got to do. Make them go over hills and mountains. See what's the hills and mountains. That's trials and tribulations. What's the highest point? What's the highest point on the planet. Right? That mountain, that's the what? 7th degree. See how many miles high? How many miles high is Mount Everest? Do we have a mathematician in here? How many miles high is that? But before I'm starting to go back up, let me deal with the 1 in 10 like I said. So what I was saying is the brothers in here, K Black C Supreme and El Divine, right, pointed out that we talking about Europe, right, which is really just West Asia, right? In all reality, even dealing with plate tectonics, that's called the Eurasian plate. You know what I'm saying? Carmen's Longley says 6 miles. I'm gonna give you credit. It's 5.5 miles though. But when you said 6, now look, that's the 7th degree. So you remember we was dealing with the clouds and we was dealing with the atmosphere? And we was dealing with how fast you gotta travel in order to be able to escape the Earth's gravitation? And it was God. See, only God is gonna be able to rise above that greatest trial and tribulation right there. Scale that greatest peak. But getting back down, you know what I'm saying, to, like I said, the hills and mountains separating Asia from Europe. Now, when you dealing with your culture degree, right, in the 1 in 10, what is it telling you? It's telling you about the population of Europeans. So that's just a little jewel for you. When you get up to your 1 in 14, something for you to look for so that you can see that all these degrees coincide with each other. So like when Halftime was saying that, he, was trying to get the understanding of each degree. In order for you to get the understanding of each degree, like in order for me to build on what I built on for the last, 45 minutes or however long I was on here, right? I would have to know all of the lessons to do that. In order to show you how the 1 in 14 applies in the actual facts, and how that also applies in the 1 in 10. Yeah, I had to sit down and think about that. I had to consider that and all of that. You understand what I'm saying? But being able to consider that is impossible until you have the whole thing on cap. See, 120, listen. I say this in the class all the time. We got a lot of new people that come online and check me out now, right? We got 41 people in the room. Actually, that's quite good for what is it, Wednesday night? So listen, the people that's in here, do me a favor, do the each one teach one and hit the like button so we can get this word out, because YouTube, they don't appreciate my topics all the time. Kareem said also the Zagros Mountains, where the Gutians come from? Add on to that, black man. What's the Zagros Mountains? And who are the Gutians? Here comes Five Borough or Thorough. Too bad she missed the part. Too bad she missed the part about how silence can be wisdom. Leyland Snotty, what's going on? Halftime said those of us here got out of 120 class right before y'all was in 120 class. Where's the 120 class? Why nobody tell me it's 120 class? Yeah, y'all some Masonic signs. Y'all over there dropping heavy signs. Ain't nobody invite me. I see how y'all do. But get to the science, what I was just going to say. 120 lessons like chess. It's not like checkers. See, in checkers, right, you really only got one piece and two moves. Yeah, you can get the kings and all that and get a little bit fancy. But really, you got one piece, you can move it diagonal this way or you can move it diagonally that way. 120 lessons is chess. Where, actually, I don't even know how many pieces, not each pawn separately. I'm talking about how many characters are on the chessboard. And you got to know how each one of them move. Each one of them moves in a distinct and particular way. And you got to know how to use all of them to be successful. Guys, Ivy Devon said he played chess to the fullest. So, you would recognize the example of the person who they super fly with the queen. They super fly with the queen. They know how to, set all this stuff up. But if you take their queen, now they totally ineffective. You got to know how to use all the pieces and how all the pieces move. So it's the same thing with 120. Like if you breaking down right now, for y'all that's in the 1 to 10, you got 196,940,000 square miles, right? It's the square miles of the planet Earth. See, you got to get into the 1 to 40, right? Unless you got the Muslim lessons, you got to get into the 1 to 40 before you deal with, okay, there's 139,685,000 square miles of water and 57,255,000 square miles of land. You got to get into the 1 to 40 before you learn that part. Then out of the land, right now, you only got the 29,000, You only got the 29 million square miles of useful land. You don't have the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Arctic Ocean that adds up to the 139,685,000. You don't have the deserts and the hills and mountains and the amount of square miles that they cover. See, all of these other things, you actually need knowledge and wisdom to born understanding. Not a clue. You know what I'm saying? You can't have a clue and born to understanding. I mean, yeah, you may luck up through your speculation and speculate the right thing a certain amount of times. But in reality, you know, if you're not increasing your knowledge and wisdom, you're not going to increase your understanding. Wise you said it's 16 pieces. No. I mean, how many individual pieces? Like, it's certain, you know, you got 2 rooks, 2 bishops, 2 knights. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying individual pieces. You know, we counting both bishops, both knights, both rooks as one piece. The king and the queen, those is one piece apiece. And the pawn is one piece. You gotta know how to use each and every one of them to be successful at chess. And it's the same way with, you know, being able to fully understand 120 lessons. God Cyber Divine said, a man that can't win a game of chess without his queen cannot rise above 6. Halftime, hold on, he said something back here I missed. That was Shaquem, Shaquem just hit y'all with something. I don't know if y'all caught on when they asked how many pieces how many squares is on the chessboard. Shaquem just hit y'all with something. I don't know if y'all caught on. Halftime. Oh, this is what it is. He said in C Medina Zoom. Also in C Medina, y'all got classes on Zoom. Yeah, it's peace. I mean, pretty much. Hey, I got mine on YouTube. So we gotta do what we gotta do in these days and times. La Illuminati said each piece going to do a specific job regardless to whom or what. Exactly. And each degree is telling you certain specific things. See, like right now, y'all on the you know, on the 1 to 10, you start in the beginning, right? You deal with who's the colored man, right? Now when you reach your 1 to 14 and you get in your knowledge degree and it tells you the colored man or Caucasian man is the devil. See, now you got more, you know, you adding on to your knowledge and wisdom to know what all this stuff means. Yeah, he said, nah, it's just something just showing you how, doing the knowledge carefully. You understand what I'm saying? Like you know what I'm saying, you go immediately into the science of multiplying the squares that's there. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of them situations where you miss the forest for the trees. You know what I'm saying? When you back out and see the big picture. Because you got to realize that all those is different levels of sight. So like right now, if I look at you with a microscope, you're going to look like a couple billion things. I'm going to see a couple billion things. You know, cells, bacteria, viruses. That's what you see when you look through a microscope. And then what you see when you look through a telescope. A whole bunch of things. Like when you looking up there, it looks like one thing. Couple of little lights. But you get the right telescope and you see all these constellations, all these different things happening. So all that's about understanding too. You know what I mean? Being able to see the big picture and to be able to look at it on a microscopic and a telescopic level. Son of Solomon, peace. Just coming in. Son of Solomon said, as above, so is below. The in and the out. Jadeda says, zigzag zig is its highest of 9,000 miles. God Cyber Divine said that God should do the knowledge to this book, The Holographic Universe by Michael Tolbert. And what is this book about? Had to drink some lemonade. And tell boy mastermind. But you know, by the time everything rotates to Sirius, everything is supposed to rotate back towards Sirius, and then the extra radiation and heat from being close to the Sirius star system is you know, you have to have your melanin has to be intact by eating his carbon-based diet, or you're going to burn up in the hellfires. You know, the good thing for me is that's not supposed to happen for another 12,000 years, so I could just go ahead and eat this nitrogen food right here and not be too worried about it. Atif said that book, the book Holographic Universe is saying we are in a computer simulation. Kareem said he heard it was a good book. Malik Lowe came in. I mean, see, you know, if we in a computer simulation. I must be some kind of glitch or something. That's all I can tell you. I'm some kind of glitch. And look, they got engineers out there working like, yeah, we don't know what went wrong with this part of the software right here. This cat is wigging out. Sir, we didn't program that, man. What's he doing? If we in the computer in computer simulation, a hacker put me in here. I don't think I'm part of the real the way they plan the program out. Carmen Lonely said that's quantum theory. What part of quantum theory is that? All in the business said this is the virus. I'm a virus, and my channel is a virus. It's a virus in the program. Are you saying they programmed me to be God? See, one thing you gotta think about in that quantum world, right? Is that really, once they get into, anything dealing with the creation of the universe and how things got here in DNA, right? Even if you take something like the theory of evolution, right? A lot of this stuff is highly, highly, highly improbable. And so you got the realm of possibility and you got the realm of probability. And they're two drastically different things. You see what I'm saying? So what it is that a lot of this stuff is so highly unlikely that it becomes more, in order to increase the likelihood or increase the chances, right? You do things like increase the number of universes. So in other words, this thing can be highly unlikely, but when you deal with things like string theory, right, where there's, an infinite amount of universes, now it could happen. You know what I'm saying? So, a lot of this stuff is, it's based on different ideas, to explain the stuff that they can't explain. So a lot of those things, you know what I'm saying? Like, this computer simulation, y'all read the book, I don't know, but I'm thinking this is something that's kind of parallel. This is parallel to string theory. You understand what I'm saying? Hold on. God Cyber Devon said that book is about the science of reality on a cosmic level from the original being or the one who has come after him. The original, what? Not a simulation, but the actual perspective of the true creator. Yeah, I don't understand that. Supreme Scientist said the holographic universe isn't so much that the universe is a simulation. The idea is just we live in a two-dimensional universe instead of a three-dimensional one. All right, yeah, y'all will have to explain that. We live in a two-dimensional, so what would be those two dimensions? is basically saying the universe is a product of consciousness. Okay, now y'all kind of all over it. What's the book about, man? Y'all know, hold on. Let me see if I can read the little thing that be on the back. What is it? Holographic universe? Well, let's see this here. It says the holographic principle states that the entropy of ordinary mass, not just black holes, is also proportional to the surface area and not volume. That volume itself is illusory, and that the universe is really a hologram in which isomorphic information inscribed on the surface of its boundary. Does it sound a little bit like flat earth theory here? Who created the holographic universe? Holographic principle is a property of quantum gravity theories, which resolves the black hole information paradox within string theory. First proposed by Gerard Hooft, it was given a precise string theory interpretation by Leonard Susskind. Yeah, so like I said, that's what it sounds like. Like I said, this string theory is something that, like I said, for things that are improbable, for things that are improbable, if you increase the amount of universes, which the amount of instances that an event could possibly occur. You understand what I'm saying? It's like if you got a 1 in 100 chance of hitting the lotto, right? So you pay 100 tickets with every number. You understand what I'm saying? That's what string theory. Why you got to be careful with that. Now, we got a question here. Yeah, listen, don't say oos in this room again, Five Borough or Thorough. Do not say oos again. So, we got L. Lowry, one of the L brothers in here. One of the L brothers stepped in. Chief said, Dagon tribe in Africa has an ancient symbol which is also a part of computer code. Chief said 2 dimensions equals flat earth. Carmen's Lonely said they showed and proved that subatomic particles of matter exist in all states prior to being observed. That is the basis for the multiverse theory, all probable states. So you're saying that they look at the potential that's within each atom, or should I say subatomic particle, and then decided that there's multiple universes. There's you got to make some leaps. You got to make some leaps with this quantum theory. And you also got to understand that once you get to the subatomic level, the regular physics of Newton and Einstein don't apply the same way. So that's a leap right there. To say that these subatomic particles, necessarily is gonna, mean multiple physical universes, that's a leap. But I want to answer this question. Supreme Scientist said, what aspect of evolution is unlikely? Well, I'll tell you one thing that, to me would be unlikely. Evolution, of course, is a kind of growth. It's a kind of growth and development. So, was it yesterday or was it the day before, we were speaking about white dwarfs and red giants, which are different stages that stars go through in their life cycle, right? Now, we could observe with telescopes stars in every stage of growth. I mean, not necessarily the same star, but you could look over there and see a star that's a white dwarf. You could look over there and see a star that's a white giant. And then you could look right here where we at and see a star that's in the middle between being a white dwarf and a red giant. I think it would be improbable, right, that we don't have an animal an animal that's halfway between being an alligator and a monkey. Like, why don't we have, an animal that's, halfway between a whale and an elephant? Like, why did all of them, why was evolution total and complete in every instance? Where even when they find these fossils, they never say, well, yeah, clearly this animal right here is halfway between a bird and a snake. That's one thing, there's a certain amount of adaptation that can be made, right? DNA is about information, though. And, information, where did these other programs come from? And right now, what kind of information would it take for your nose to grow into an elephant trunk? Like, you got certain DNA that says certain things right now. I'm not an expert on how DNA works. And I understand that it's like 4 basic elements to DNA, and then they get rearranged in different ways. But they're rearranged in an orderly fashion according to the laws of each, living individual, entity that you're talking about, whether it's a dog or whether it's a person. Another thing that's improbable is that we wouldn't have a bigger record, right, of the mutations. Meaning, you know, we, you know, even in the world we live in right now, you know, probably 90% or better of mutations mean death. That, you know, I mean, there's some, you got mutants like, you know, Shaquille O'Neal is a mutant, you know, but, you know, it worked out for him. But the average mutation, if you're born with some type of mutation, you're not going to survive. So, you know, you know, there's a lot of things, for my logic, that's missing. You know what I'm saying? You know, and there's also, you know, phenotypical and genotypical change that we talking about that for me would be unlikely. But I don't know, maybe you have some knowledge of the topic that you could add on and help me to see clearly. So let me catch back up here. Calm Islami said theories are the engine of scientific investigation. It's not a bad word to me. No, it's not a bad word. But we got to understand that, you know, some theories have been proven and some theories are still in the theoretical stage. The scientific process has not been completed on some theories. You see, the theory of gravity, right? You know, if you could jump out the window and prove it. You understand what I'm saying? Other theories, like, see, when people talk about global Earth, you know, the round Earth is a theory and flat Earth is a theory. See, let me tell you something out when you deal with that theory. See, when you talk about the Earth being round, the scientists that say that, they can explain the phenomenon that we see every day. And when we see the sun rise every 24 hours, right? The globe Earth theory can explain that. But the globe Earth theory can also explain things that happened in the past. Like, there's certain elements of history that they was able to match up because the people described that it was an eclipse, a solar eclipse, right before a certain thing happened. And they could go back through that theory and find, okay, yeah, it was a solar eclipse around this time, so yeah, it was in this year, this month right here on this day. And they could also predict into the future. Meaning when they tell you it's gonna be a solar eclipse on a day, right? They don't be 5 seconds off. They don't be a minute off. They be right at the time when they say it's gonna happen, that's when it happened. So see, that's the difference between that theory and these quantum theories. You understand what I'm saying? You know, when we're gonna get down to some more questions, but we're gonna get back. Do you know where quantum theory comes from, Calm Islami? The internet we on right now was once a theory, okay. Yeah, halftime brings up another question. Why did all evolution happen millions of years ago? He's asking pretty much the same question I'm asking is why don't we have an animal right now that we like, yo, yeah, this is clearly, you know what I'm saying? Because anything else that's born, like we people that's born, right? There's people that's 100, there's people that's 99, there's people that's 98, there's people that's 97, there's people that's 50, there's people that's 30. You understand what I mean? There's people from every stage of growth and development. So that's why I said, why was evolution complete and total in every place? So that the people who evolved, they just, or the animals that evolved, they just evolved totally. And there's no real evidence of the evolution, I'm saying. There's no there. Supreme Scientist said, have I ever done the knowledge to intermediate or transitional fossils? For instance, Google Tiddalik. So we'll see what Tiddalik is. It's Tiddalik, yeah, Black Sea Supreme said the missing link. Yeah, where's the missing link? Where is it? Bigfoot? All right, this is a fossilized fish pod. It has traits common to the first four-footed animals. Man, see this. Tiddalik represents a close relative of the ancestor of tetrapods, and its fossil dates. See, now this is what I'm saying. You gotta read to see. It says it's a close relative to an ancestor of tetrapods. Now look, this is something that keeps happening within the theory of evolution. See, just like remember years ago, they used to say that man evolved from all these different fossils, Australopithecus, this fossil, that fossil. But now they've changed it to, we didn't evolve directly from them, but they're somehow a relative from some other ancestor. This is what keeps happening in the theory of evolution. So that's why it's a little bit, when are they ever going to give you the animal, not the relative of the animal? And why are there no fish with feet right now? It would clearly be an advantage. I don't know why, the theory has to be proposed initially, in order to establish a fact. That's what I'm saying, though. The facts of some theories haven't been established. No. See, do you know where quantum physics comes from, Calm Islam? said a proper set of recorded data supporting the facts over a period of time. Supreme scientist said a fact is an observation that has been repeatedly confirmed. A theory is a well-established, well-substantiated explanation for natural phenomena that incorporates facts, laws, and tested hypotheses. Okay, what are the laws and tested hypotheses? Jasim said, I think the reason we don't see in-betweens is the forest through the trees thing. We're just too close to it to have the right perspective. So what you're saying is that there are some bears that are evolving into something else, but we just can't tell right now. I mean, is this anything like Born Mastermind saying that we only 150 years from being white, but we just can't tell right now? Like, somewhere the rubber has to meet the road. You know, word has to become life. We gotta be able to look out there, you know, in our atmosphere and have these things be shown and proven. See, because, you know, even in terms of what Calm Islam and Supreme Scientist is saying, right? I didn't say it was impossible. So I'm still along the lines of what they saying. In terms of scientifically, that's a theory. I'm saying, all right, we need to test that. Calm Islam said, what need would there be for scientific method if fact is already established? The same need it is for people to still be learning mathematics. Sim said, like you said, though, we do see mutations, and all evolution is mutations over time. Yeah, but I'm saying we see mutations within a certain range. I'm talking about, I need you to explain to me how the mechanism right now, what's the theory, what's the tested hypothesis that right now your nose could turn into an elephant trunk? What would be the environmental pressures that might lead your nose to turn into an elephant trunk? State of the art, when did you come in? I hope you came in the beginning. Supreme Scientist said the anglerfish uses its fins like feet. Okay. That doesn't evolution make. You know, there's a kind of well, actually, I think it's more than one kind of animal. But I seen some type of rodents that they live in trees. You know what I mean? Like when I say rodents, I mean uh, raccoon, possum, whatever, different, all those families like that. I'm saying, and it has some type of flaps between its arms and its feet, where it could jump out of the tree and look like it's flying, but it's gliding. Like the flaps catch the wind, and it could glide all the way to a far tree over there. But it's not a bird. It's a mammal. It's not related to birds. You know what I'm saying? This is not the scientific method that y'all was saying. How do I see the scientific method? What you mean? Do I think it's good or bad? The scientific method is to make observations. You know what I'm saying? Record them, duplicate them or not. You know what I'm saying? And discern knowledge about our atmosphere. Carmen's Longley said the branch of physics that deals with movement of particles. I understand that definition. I wouldn't necessarily describe it as that. But what I asked you is, where did it come from? Carmen's Longley said light is a particle that behaves like a wave until under observation. Jasim said you can see the science in plant breeding. What science in plant breeding shows you the science of evolution? No, strains of equality is not showing you. What I'm telling you is to show me some equality that became a rose. Like you started out with equality, and then it was a rose bush. That's what you need to explain. That's what I'm saying. That when you talking about, are there tall people, short people, people with, certain type of eyes, people with certain type of nose, certain people with long necks, whatever, yeah. But let's get, I'm talking about how you could go, what is the mechanism by which, not saying it's going to happen today, not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, not saying it's going to happen in the next 10 years, but what is the mechanism by which your nose could become an elephant trunk? See, because if this theory's been proven, they have the mechanism. So let me tell you something about scientists and capitalism. Anything that they understand, they using it to build something and make money. If you don't see them building nothing and making money off it, then they don't understand it. Julie TV said, peace, they're called flying squirrels. That really simple. I said all this, they're called flying squirrels. You see that? And then he on the What Did I Miss crew anyway. Gonna come in and break it down. Jasim said, but you bear witness to the effect of environmental pressures That's the precursor to survival of various mutations. Yeah, but see, okay. So how far are we taking this evolutionary thing? Because there's some things that goes along with evolution. You know, an environmental pressure has to be strong enough to kill whatever was the original species. Like, it has to be so strong that only the offspring that's born with the mutation survive. And the probability that you're going to have this many viable mutations is just a slim chance. Like there was a dude, I'm pretty sure his name is Crick. This guy's name is Crick, right? And he is one of the guys that discovered the DNA, the double helix and all that. Jackson said that the offspring can have a higher probability of reproducing. That generally means that the other ones are dying. Like, we talking about outside in nature. We ain't talking about, here in the world where, we got all this technology. We talking about out there where only the strong survive. Now, I'm pretty sure Karma Islami, that didn't start out as a theory. That started out as an observation. It was an observation that they tried to, that they set out to explain. And then they might have developed a theory about why it was happening. But that was an observation that some scientists was noticing that experiments would go differently if they was watching the experiment than if they put the experiment to happen and they went to do something else. Which is getting to the point of what I'm saying. Let me just say what I was going to say, which is, Newton, right? Kareem said all changes in any life form takes at least hundreds of thousands of years at minimum. Yeah, so, when in that hundreds of thousands of years, where are the fossils? Why can't I see somebody that's at every stage of evolution in there? Like, why are those fossils always so much more fragile than the regular species? Why are these in-between species more fragile than the actual species? But here's my one thing I wanted to add on, and then we can, in terms of this quantum theory, right? Newton put down in his book, The Principia, the laws of motion. The laws of physics and the laws of motion on this plane right here that we exist. He came up with a whole bunch of formulas to describe what and how things move. How the energy interacts with the matter, with the matter, to cause all the phenomena that we see around us. Einstein set out to make one formula that could explain all motion. The theory of relativity is supposed to explain all motion. And over time, people began to see that Einstein's law didn't, in fact, explain all motion. And that there was still a lot of things that they didn't understand. And all of that stuff that they didn't understand became quantum physics. So what I'm saying is that quantum physics, for the most part, is things that people have, they got some information about. But quantum physics has not been shown and proven yet. Like, they could tell you about the reaction of a photon, but let's face it, photon is already a form of energy that, is right there. We can see it with the naked eye. That's a little bit different than other forms of energy. So they got some things in there. I'm not knocking it, but I'm saying that there's lots of things. Like even with dark matter, they don't really know what it is. All they know is that they made their measurements of everything in the universe, right? And in their calculations, they was like, okay, it's this much matter that we see or whatever. So according to our calculations, the way things is moving should be based on gravity, right? And electromagnetism and all these things. But according to the stuff that we've measured so far, it's not moving correctly. There's something else out there that's exerting a force on everything we see and making it move in a way that's not measuring with our models. And so they call that dark matter. But they don't know what it is. HI man, but these brothers ain't like Born Master what they saying. They not like Born Master what they saying. A Born Master is definitely somebody who, he speaks from quantum physics, but I don't know if he understands it. All in the business said, what do you mean by saying quantum physics hasn't been proven? It simply means close-up physics, right? Well, let's take string theory. Have you ever heard that one of them looked out into the universe and saw some strings hanging someplace? Or they looked out into the universe and saw another parallel universe? Or has anyone ever met their self from a parallel universe? I'm not saying it can't happen. But I'm just saying, listen, according to our 13th degree according to our 13th degree in the 1 to 40, I'm just saying that, yeah, nobody's never, all in the business said that's not string theory. String theory is the theory of parallel universes. What are you saying string theory is? No. I said, have they ever looked out into the universe and saw any strings hanging? That's what I'm saying. You could try to be technical. What I'm saying is they don't have any evidence of that. That there's a million different universes and there's a million me's living all different potential lives. That's what that's about. So that every single possibility of things that I could do, there's a parallel universe where I did do that. Okay, that, some of these things that we teaching here or that I'm teaching here just don't coincide with that. That there's another me. And hold up. What mind he's working from? What mind he's working from? This is what I'm saying. This stuff is not out of context. Now I'm all the way in context. They call this string theory. See, like when they say the theory of global warming, I expect to see the globe, the planet temperature rising. Have you looked out there and seen temperatures rising? That's what I, you can take it how you want to take it. I'm telling you, that's what they called it. Supreme Scientist says string theory is not falsifiable at the date of this writing, is currently not testable. And see, that's what I'm saying when you get into the 13th degree, where I don't care if you got a priest dress on. What they call when the priests put their robes on? I don't care if you got the priest robes on. I don't care if you got the scientist white robes / lab coat on. If you telling me something that I cannot see, then I'm not. See, there's a difference between things that I know to be correct and things that are in consideration. Every single thing that I hear is in consideration. Every single thing that I hear, every single thing that a person tells me is in consideration. But the things that, I'm saying like, okay, yeah, this is science, this is knowledge and wisdom right here. You got to be able to show me that. All of the business says someone said that quantum physics showed improved light particles and waves. However, that's physics, not quantum. See, like I said, because light is something is energy, but it's still working on this plane right here. You see what I'm saying? But the reason he's saying that is because a photon is a subatomic particle. Fly Phrase said the guy's dropping some heavy signs tonight. I mean, we got the hot scientists. All in the business said the quantum theory is that light's energy is related to its frequency. Einstein proved that using physics. Okay. Colin Powell said, what about things proven through mathematics? I don't understand what things proven through mathematics are proven. They're not theories. Calm Islami said, I'm just saying I don't have problems doing the knowledge to all conclusions that don't deal with a mystery God. Atif said, by the way, most of our DNA is inactive. By manipulating grafted DNA, you get variations. Environment can cause damages, but the manipulation makes the fast changes. Supreme Scientist said proof is only really the domain of mathematics. Yeah. You know, all these you know, and see, that's another thing. You know, is that, you know, you go to science class and you see them write all these formulas on the board. A lot of this stuff is even the stuff they writing on the board is not real. It's stuff that they, you know, they come up with a theory and then they make you know, a mathematical structure in order to make it work, but they still be experimenting. Thomas Lonely said, but then how do we explain the behavior of particles when they are observed as opposed to they are not being observed? Yeah, but they don't know either. Calm Islami. You mean, how do we explain it? I mean, you know, we not coming, you know, from the mysterious concept. You understand what I mean? We coming from the concept that everything is based on knowledge. You know what I'm saying? You know, you never grow a hair on your eyeball because all the cells that make up your eyeball, they know what they are. They know who they are. They know what they do. Like when you get a scrape on your skin right here, right? Your skin don't never grow back somebody else's complexion. Because each cell has knowledge of self. So the same thing what I'm saying, you know, when you dealing with atoms, thinking that the atom don't have no blueprint that it's going according to, this is a little bit out there for me. Or you saying the quantum theory seeks to explain these things without resorting to a mystery God. But see, they also seek to explain these things without teaching that the black man is God. So they're not teaching, you know, the elements, man, that, you know, all this stuff that we talking about right now, these subatomic particles and all that's taking place inside of us right now. And now we got all the whole periodic table. Right. All of the business said quantum randomness. I'm not sure if it's a law. And let me ask you a question, Carmen Islamly. And this is a question like the brother said, is 65 squares on the chessboard. You know what I'm saying? You said that a subatomic particle behaves differently when it's being observed. How do we know it's not the observer that's behaving differently? How do we know it's not your instruments that are behaving differently? As Cypher Divine said, quantum theory is his expertise. Supreme Scientist said, is it yours perspective that the black man has always existed on the planet Earth? I have heard a lot of guys dismissive of the theory of evolution by natural selection, yet they don't offer an alternative explanation. Because you don't need an explanation. That's the purview of religious people. Phantasm, knowledge born, peace. All in the business of the light you taking in is making you behave differently. The closer you get to the speed of light, the slower time moves. Yeah, but see, time moving at a certain rate is all based on your perspective. God Cypher Divine said if a tree falls in a forest and no one is there to hear it, doesn't make a sound. Let me ask you a question, Supreme Scientific. Under what condition would white skin be a natural advantage? Because before you have natural selection, you gotta have natural advantage. There's gotta be something that's causing this one kind of animal to survive, as opposed to other animals that don't have that mutation. Calm Islami said the answer to that is both. You gotta explain that one. Supreme Scientist said lack of UVB radiation. You gotta expand on that answer a little bit more. I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know who Schrodinger's cat is. Who's Schrodinger? I'm waiting on supreme scientists to add on to this lack of UVB radiation. Colin Powell said, put a cat in a box. You don't know if it's alive or dead until you open the box. The idea of superposition. Superposition. And what's the idea of superposition? Yeah, well, what if you hear the cat scratching and meowing in the box?
It's 2 o'clock.
And wouldn't that be maybe like a sign or something? Or is this like a soundproof box? So superposition is basically you don't know. Supreme scientists say UV radiation is a carcinogen. The greater exposure to UVB leads to premature aging cancer. Yeah, so why under that reality would white skin be an advantage? When clearly, under those conditions that you just said right there, you know, UV radiation, UVB, and all of this comes from the very sun at the center of our solar system. Why would a condition where the sun is carcinogenic and leads to premature aging and cancer, why on a planet like that would white skin ever be a natural advantage in order for it to lead to natural selection? Different parts of the planet receive different levels of UV radiation. So how come other people that live in places with similar levels of UV radiation to Europe, why haven't they turned white? Or why don't we see the evolution of them turning white? Dark skin is disadvantageous in a low UV environment. This is spoken of in our understanding degree in the 1 to 14. And it tells you that the original man knows every square inch of the planet Earth and has chosen for himself the best part. Preston Boyd said, what about the Indians in Alaska? This is an example of one of the groups of people that I'm saying why haven't they turned white? No, fly phrase. What he's saying is, it's an actual fact, right? That if you live above, and I think this is a question right here where he asking, what do they eat? If you live above a certain, if you live outside of a certain range of latitude, right? Latitudes is the lines that go across the planet, right? If you live outside of a range of a certain latitude that's near the equator, you don't get enough sunlight throughout the year for black people. And so like when you look on the cereal box and it got all those vitamins on there and tell you it's fortified, or like oatmeal, rice, certain foods that they know everybody eat is fortified with certain vitamins and minerals. Like this brother is saying right here, the vitamin D to, supposedly replace the vitamin D you was going to get from the sun. You know what I mean? Or the vitamin D that your body creates when it's exposed to the sun. If you look up a condition called rickets, that's where rickets comes from. Rickets comes from, yeah. But Supreme Scientist was getting to the science right here. He said, what do they eat? So are you about to tell us that the Eskimos eat some food that's high in vitamin D, and that's how they were able to remain, or that was how they never turned white? Fly Phrase said a certain part of Alaska. I don't know which part though. Phantasm said Eskimos eat reindeer. So are reindeer high in vitamin D? And what in their traditional diet is rich in vitamin D? So fish and marine animals could have stopped Europeans from turning white. So the seal meat, so you're saying that seals, whales, walruses, all of these things are high in vitamin D. All right, Universal 7. Kareem said blacks were the original Vikings. Black Supreme said it was a process similar to dog breeding. Now, I'm still waiting on the stuff about this diet. Because, see, one thing about this diet is this would explain why there are Eskimos on the coast. But what about the Indians that lived in land? Kareem said that's not cap either. There's research out there to support blacks were the first Vikings, as funny as it sounds, and were the first to live in Europe. I mean, you know, when you have knowledge of self long enough, you hear that pretty much everybody was black. You know, I heard everybody from Julius Caesar, you know, down the line is black. Yeah, Phantasm said he's heard pretty much the same thing. You know, you can't put a... Sim said, I think the explanation is that the ice ages caused long periods without the sun. Okay, so what happened, you know, during the long periods since it's been the sun? Like if that turned them white, why didn't turn them back black? Is Viking clothing with the word Allah? All in the business said there's been no period without the sun. Even if you in the shadows, the light touches you. Yeah, I'm just saying why they ain't turning them back white. Not as long yet, and there's supposedly a browning of everyone, but mostly because of miscegenation. Nah, stop it. Stop it. Because see, here's another place. See, y'all talk about this evolution that takes place over hundreds of thousands of years, but, you know, they only giving people like 50,000 years. Like modern people according to the evolutionary theory, is only 50,000 years. And according to the Human Genome Project, right, all blonde hair and blue-eyed people descend from a common ancestor that existed 6,000 years ago. Yeah, Asiatic mathematics, you've been down that same road. You know, yeah, where everybody's black. Until something bad happens. Then it's the devil! What modern humans are given 300 to 500,000 years? Homo sapiens sapiens? Nadelli? I'm not even sure which, I don't think I've heard of Nadelli yet. Homo sapiens sapiens is 50,000 years. What, Homo erectus is 300 to 5? Homo erectus 200K, all right. Homo sapiens sapiens. What recent data? I don't know where y'all got this recent data from. All right, now. This is since the early 1980s. There have been two leading contradictory models that attempt to explain modern human evolution, the replacement model and the regional continuity model. Christopher Stringer and Peter Andrews proposes that modern humans evolved from archaic humans 200,000 to 150,000 years ago, only in Africa, and then some of them migrated to the rest of the New World, replacing Neanderthals and other late archaic humans beginning around 60,000 to 40,000 years ago, or somewhat earlier. If this interpretation of the fossil record is correct, all people today share a relatively modern African history. All the other lines of humans had to descend from Homo erectus, presumably became extinct. From this view, the regional anatomical differences that we now see among humans are recent developments, evolving mostly in the last 40,000 years. All right, I'm not sure who these archaic humans are they talking about. And, this theory is some stuff that I heard before. But they still putting 40,000 years on the period. They saying that these developments, the differences, the regional anatomical differences that we now see among humans are recent developments evolving mostly in the last 40,000 years. Now, the regional continuity model says, advocated by Milford Wolpoff, proposes that modern humans evolved more or less simultaneously in all major regions of the old world from local archaic humans. For example, modern Chinese are seen as having evolved from Chinese archaic humans and ultimately from Chinese Homo erectus. This would mean that the Chinese and some other peoples in the old world have great antiquity in place. Supporters of this model believe the ultimate common ancestor of all modern people was an early Homo erectus in Africa who lived at least 1.8 million years ago. It is further suggested that since then there was sufficient gene flow between Europe, Africa, and Asia to prevent long-term reproductive isolation and the subsequent evolution of distinct regional species. It is argued that intermittent contact between the people of these distant areas would have kept the human line a single species at any one time. However, regional varieties or subspecies of humans are expected to have existed. Now, on this particular scale, this is kind of like a range here, but they got a line with modern humans at 50,000 and archaic humans between, looks like 100,000 and 500,000. Again, there are two sources of evidence supporting the replacement model: the fossil record and DNA. So far, the earliest finds of Homo sapiens skeletons come from Africa. They date to nearly 200,000 years ago on that continent. They appear in Southwest Asia around 100,000 years ago and elsewhere in the old world by 60 to 40,000 years ago. Unless modern human remains dating to 200,000 years ago or earlier are found in Europe or East Asia, it would seem that the replacement model better explains the fossil data for those regions. However, the DNA data supporting replacement theory, a replacement are more problematical. Beginning in the 1980s, Rebecca Cann at the University of California argued that the geographic region in which modern people have lived the longest should have the greatest amount of genetic diversity today. Through comparisons of mitochondrial DNA sequences from living people throughout the world, she concluded that Africa has the greatest genetic diversity and therefore must be the homeland of modern humans. Assuming a specific and constant rate of mutation, she further concluded that the common ancestor of modern people was a woman. Okay, man. Y'all see where this is going, right? Y'all see where this is going, right? Assuming a specific constant rate of mutation, she further concluded that the common ancestor of modern people was a woman living about 200,000 years ago in Africa. This supposed predecessor was dubbed mitochondrial Eve. More recent genetic research at the University of Chicago and Yale University lends support to the replacement model. It has shown that variations in the DNA of the Y chromosome and chromosome 12 also have the greatest diversity among Africans today. John Rutherford and other critics of the replacement model have pointed out that Africa could have had the greatest diversity in DNA simply because there were more people living there during the last several 100,000 years. This would leave open the possibility that Africa was not necessarily the only homeland of modern humans. Critics of the genetic argument for the replacement model also point out that the rate of mutation used for the molecular clock is not necessarily constant, which makes the 200,000 year date for mitochondrial Eve unreliable. The rate of inheritable mutations for a species or a population can vary due to a number of factors, including generation time, the efficiency of DNA repair within cells, ambient temperature, and varying amounts of natural environmental mutagens. In addition, some kinds of DNA molecules are known to be more subject to mutation than others, resulting in faster mutation rates. This seems to be the case with the Y chromosome in human males. Further criticism of the genetic argument for the replacement model has come from geneticists at Oxford University. They found that the human beta globin gene is widely distributed in Asia but not in Africa. Since this gene is thought to have originated more than 200,000 years ago, it undercuts the claim that an African population of modern Homo sapiens replaced East Asian archaic humans less than 60,000 years ago. So, let me come back over here. I'm sure y'all have gone way, side rallies have gotten out of control. All in the Business said he found a timeline that said Homo sapiens' first appearance was 300,000 years ago. I also have a Discovery magazine that says the same. Yeah, but a quick reference. Nat Geo says humans lived 300,000 years ago in Morocco. Hold up. Yeah, the Out of Africa model is what I was going by. Does anybody know who the most honorable Elijah Muhammad called the original brown seed? Supreme Scientist said the Japanese. Phantasm said template for modern science is still built from Darwin Monkey Man. So what I'm saying here is that it would appear that there's some issues with this calculation and this evolution, this is what I'm saying, the science is not really there. And also when they say they found remains, of something that existed 200,000 years ago, a lot of times they just talking about a shin bone. Like they found a shin bone or a tooth. Or they find one bone, and they say, this bone looks like the bone of an animal that we see right now, but that animal is usually this size, and they have a bone this big, and this one appears to have a bone this big. So this was another species of the animal that existed at whatever time that was way huger than this animal. Not to get, because like I told you, I don't get too deep into the scholarship. I don't want to sound like I'm ready. I don't want to sound like I'm ready to give a presentation. I don't want to sound like I'm ready to give a presentation on Sinetta with my scholarship and nothing like that. But again, I'm saying this is one of those theories that still have some problems. And that's different from a theory that has already been proven. It's not the word theory that gets me excited. It's not the word theory that makes me question something. It's that I actually dig beneath the surface, where sometimes, you see the headline and it says this, or whatever, but then when you read into the actual thing, that's not what it's saying. Even though this white man science, Kareem, I never agree with that terminology. The white man ain't got no science. You see, all of the businesses say, is there science that they originated? There's some ologies. That he probably came up with. But I can't think of a science, like chemistry, physics, medicine, nothing like that. Trick knowledge is not a science neither. Remember, Yaqub taught him trick knowledge. Yaqub was an original black man. The white man don't have no science. Because if the science is the observation of natural phenomenon and, the causes and the outcomes, right? That existed the whole time. The white man don't have no science. He can obscure and manipulate the facts. But he don't have no science. But that's one of them things, man. Well, like I said, you're dealing with the perspective, man. Once you dealing with science and you go too far back in the past, or you go too far into the future, right? The science is always going to get tricky, because then it's hard to make the observations and do the research it's necessary to come to the conclusion. Remember, you gotta have a theory, a hypothesis, you gotta have an experiment, you gotta have observation, and then you come to a conclusion. All theories haven't been through that entire process yet. Some theories are only at the hypothesis phase. See, Data, this is one of the times when you need to know your degrees. Someone in here that knows today's degree in the 1 to 40 answered Jasim's question. Did Yakub learn tricknology from somebody? Somebody hit Data with the wisdom degree in the 1 to 40. Supreme Science says, what is the out of gorilla theory? Got me there. What is the out of gorilla theory? Is that something I just said? If I did, I didn't mean to say that. Yeah. I used to have a class like that called math applications. Where you would do things like, usually you go to math class and you deal with the Pythagorean theorem, right? Where you got the right track, the right angle right here, and then you got the hypotenuse that goes up that way, right? But what we used to do with it, right, is figure out how high a plane would travel. You know what I'm saying? From dealing with the sines and the cosines and all that, and you figure out from this angle right here, how high this is and all of that. You went through applications of it. It was, you didn't just, that's like one example of a thing where they would give us a problem like that. Figure out what altitude the plane has reached by the time it traveled this X amount of feet. Manola Music and Films, you stepped out and came back. Yeah, we on for a minute. I'm about to jump off. They done got me caught up in the side rally over here. Let's see, you skip lines. You skip a line Because you said he declared it at 6. But something happened before he declared it. Yeah, you left that part out. I was about to tell you that. Then he learned that the piece with magnetic attracts the piece without magnetic. See, Jadeda, that's what you left out. It says, while playing with 2 pieces of steel, he discovered. Then the next line says, then he learned. Then it says, he told his people. Well, I don't understand. Jassim said, I thought tricknology was specifically lying still in the master and the original man. Well, what that was just said would lead you to believe that it's something other than that. How the 2 pieces still equate. They didn't deal with equality. You gotta know what the 2 pieces still is. In the form of magnetic. Of course, putting the wisdom before the knowledge is a form of trick knowledge. Supreme Scientist said they was dealing with SOME and not the SUM. So I think we pretty much ready to wrap up, unless we got any other questions out there. If anybody got any other questions out there, we could tackle that. If not, gotta get ready for tomorrow being a new day. Get all my ones and twos ready. Anyone? Bueller? This is a pretty lively discussion we had today. You know what I mean? Hit a little mathematical Kareem said, can ROPE bind something? What do you mean? Says ROPE is the rope to bind in. Josh said, I think I'm full or humble and digital bean pie today. You know, digital bean pies, man. Phantasm tomorrow. I think I'm gonna try to hit it early tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Because you know tomorrow is Sunez. We gotta tune in to Sunez. Alright, no doubt, Supreme Scientist. We check you out tomorrow. We'll be on here. Kareem said, I know a rope can a ROPE. Well, the ROPE is the rope to bind in. What do you mean? Like, you just mean like in terms of, is the language the same? So you think that the degree should just be quoted you in rope? Alright, Phantasm, no doubt. Peace. Yes, Phantasm probably try to make it on like about 3-ish, 4-ish. 3-ish or 4-ish. So I can do my little quick thing and be out of Sunya's way. But I'm bad with the clock, man. I'm the 13th man for real. Yeah, you think it should just be quoted just rope? Alright, no doubt, Phantasm. Check you tomorrow. You know, I mean, Kareem, that's a thing. You know, when I first got the lessons, I didn't know you were supposed to spell stuff out. So the first time I quoted it, that's how I quoted it. You means hillside, and rope means the rope to bind in. And then brothers was like, nah, you gotta spell it out. You know, You know, I gotta tell you, that's another one of the things that might, you know, be a perspective thing. But, you know, getting the knowledge as a kid, you know what I'm saying? You know, look, you know, I was around people that wasn't the you know, the level. Like, for instance, tonight we talking about quantum physics and all these different sciences and geography and history and DNA and all this stuff. You know, look, we needed to learn how to spell. You know what I'm saying? Not me in particular. You know, I was pretty good with spelling. You know what I'm saying? But just in general, you know, Lieutenant and all those type of words. A lot of people was not, you know, familiar with those words. You know what I'm saying? So, but you're saying that you're saying that if you say ROPE means the rope to bind in, I'm saying I don't understand what part of that don't make sense. Like, rope is spelled ROPE. Yeah, it's something I'm missing. Makes perfect sense to me. Anyone else? Any last questions before we out of here? Everybody that came in, man, too, man, on the way out, each one teach one, hit that like button for me, man, so we can get the word out. I'm up to 731 subscribers now. I'll have you people know. Well, Kareem, mine doesn't have periods. Mine has dashes between it. Hey, I see what you're saying now grammatically. See, mine is like this. What happened? Oh. That's how mine looks on the paper. So yeah, if you got periods, maybe that might give you a little more of a throw off. Somebody dislike, that's you know, that you know I'm up there now, man. Like I told you, man, I got 731 big subscribers, man. The original 13th degree only has LIEUT and CAPT. What do you mean, the Muslim ones? Well, mine came with the dashes. So I can see what you're saying, that if it got periods, then that makes it more like, you know, maybe you're thinking it's an acronym or something. But mine came with dashes, which is generally, that's like the literary way that they let you know that to spell this word out. Yeah, And Supreme Scientist said he got those dashes too. You see some guys with just CAPT and LIEUT? Nah, I never say that. I was looking at the what they call it, the Supreme Wisdom. I was looking at it, and I was noticing quite a bit of differences. Supreme Scientist said I wouldn't get roped into a conversation about it though. Yeah, that's But he Kareem, he's one of the Mythbusters. I mean, it's some things, in 120, whether Elijah Muhammad meant that or not, those are just practical matters. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, see, like coming on this live, just like just now we went through all types of physics and history or whatever, that's that's just a practical application of what happens, what I'm saying, when I'm doing the teaching, is that, you're going to learn some history. You know what I mean? You're going to learn some chemistry. You're going to learn some physics. You're going to learn some mathematics. You understand what I'm saying? And learn these 120 lessons, man. You're going to learn how to spell. Or you're going to learn how to memorize mouth to ear really, really well. You know what I'm saying? Julia TV said EU means Hillside. What does it mean? Is this a trick question? Because you said right here, EU means Hillside. And then you said, what does it mean? Clarity One, you came in right at the end today, man. You got to go back. But look, we had a really super good one today. I think. I didn't allow myself to get caught up in the side rallies. What do you mean, like, what is the etymology of EU?
It's 3 o'clock.
You saying who pick or use the EU? Why did the people who started calling that landmass Europe pick EU? Because remember, Europe is a fairly new word. There was some Greek mythology. There was a woman named Europa. I don't know what her story was. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know the whole mythology, the whole mythological story behind her. But there's a woman named Europa in Greek mythology. But like that being the official name of that continent, that's like really new. What do you mean, why did Elijah Muhammad separate the word into EU and ROPE? You mean, why did Elijah Muhammad or the Europeans? Kareem said, I don't know anything about tree. Do you know El Rahim? You mean you don't know anything about your tree? Why did Elijah? Well, I mean, the word is, it's clearly, when you look at the word Europe, you see two words. It's like, when we say know the ledge. You talking about how old is this El Rahim you talking about? And where he from? And what part? Right. That's why I said which one you talking about. What else you know about him besides his name is You said maybe early 60s. I don't know if Al Rahim is somewhere in his 50s. The one that, the first one that comes to mind. But the other one, I think he's older than his early 60s. So that's, right now I'm still, where's he from? Yeah, you probably talking about my dude, El Rahim. He's from Medina, but he rests in Mecca right now. I'm saying your tree goes through El Rahim. Buffering or something. Well, see what else you can find out about the guy. His father and the father Divine Ali are in the lessons my uncle gave me, and he said, if I'm not mistaken, El Rahim was his enlightenment. I don't know who Father Divine Ali is. And where's your uncle from? Medina and Mecca. What part of Medina? Kareem. DeVille. Yeah, I can't be sure which one it is. And what's your uncle's name? Born Unique. I know that name. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know when the next time I'm gonna see El Rahim right now because of what's the name? You know, right now we all locked in. But you know, next time I see either one of them, I ask them if they recall that brother. You know what I'm saying? In the meantime, I'll catch you tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? But if I find the brother's number, I'll give him a call for you. But right now, off the top of my head, I can't say which one of them it is. But like I said, man, peace to everybody out there in the room, all the people that participated, all the people that observed. You know what I'm saying? Kareem said he went home in sight for knowledge. All right. Yeah, probably that might cause him to recall who he is. But you know, peace to everybody out there. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, each one teach one. Hit the like button, hit subscribe. You know what I mean? If you ain't getting your notifications, make sure you check that button that you signed up for that. And I'll check y'all out tomorrow. Peace.